And so I add my welcome to Grace's as you join us and I read the Gospel and preach from St Andrew's in Kelso. So hear the Holy Gospel according to Mark, the 10th chapter, beginning at the 35th verse. Glory to Christ our Saviour. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask you." And he said to them, "What is it you want me to do?" They said to him, "Grant us to sit one at your right hand and one at your left hand in glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I'm baptized with?" They replied, "We are able." Then Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink, you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand or my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they were angry with James and John. So Jesus called to them and said, "You know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it all over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it's not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Give thanks to the Lord for his glorious gospel.
Thanks to
Christ our Lord. Would you like to sit down? Once again, here they come, those Zebedee brothers. You can see them coming. They look absolutely amazing. They've been shopping at Austin Reed, that dates me, and they know exactly how to live and how to look. They flash their whitened smiles. They've got just enough grey, just around the temples, I can't do that bit sadly, to look experienced but not tired. Enough tan to look sporty, but not like they have to earn a living out of doors. So they sidle up to Jesus and they say, "Hey, Jesus, can we speak to you in private, just for a moment?" They want to get him alone. They want to get him out of earshot of the rest of the disciples because they want something. And they're smart enough to know that the others might not just appreciate the deal that they want to cut with the Lord. So they speak to him. "We're close friends, right?" You can hear them saying it, can't we? "We've had some great times together, you and us." They don't beat around the bush as they begin to jockey for position, for favour from God. They come right to the point because they're both ambitious for the top slots. They both want to be Prime Minister. They both want to be CEO, Chief Executive Officer of the new church. They want to be up there. They want the top cabinet posts in the new administration that is Jesus's. They want to give orders. They certainly don't want to take them. They want to ask questions and not have to answer them. Can you imagine anything like that happening today? If the caricature seems a bit caustic, then it captures the tone of this gospel reading that we've had today. We've had it already this year. This is twice this passage has come up already in the lectionary this year. So before we distance ourselves from the Zebedee brothers just too quickly, it's worth considering the reason that the church saved this little story of big embarrassment for the disciples. Because if we're honest, We all have a bit of Zebedee brothers in us, don't we? If we're really, really honest. Maybe we don't aim as high. Maybe we don't want to be at Christ's right hand, left hand in glory. But maybe we do just all share something in this approach to life. In this modern world, which has all changed since I left business, there's been a lot written about mission statements, about the way they guide us as we go through life, about how, as groups or as individuals, we can use mission statements to set out our priorities, to keep focus, and to do really what matters to us. I think there's also a thing about a mission question that sums up our approach to life. It's not like a mission statement. A mission question can guide for better or for worse how we lead our lives. So when looking at James and John, we can surmise the question that guides their lives, that leads them to ask for special status. And I would suggest that question is, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? And so today's scene, as recounted in Mark's Gospel, is not just embarrassing. In some ways, it's heartbreaking, because we've seen how James and John, and I talked about it not very long ago, left their fishing business, left their mother and their father to follow Jesus. We can see that they've sacrificed a lot to continue with Jesus right down this road of discipleship, which is not an easy road for them. But today we see that ugly question rearing its self-centered head. What's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this? Now, in a way, James and John are on the right track, because they do have faith in Jesus' victory, so they know they're backing a winner. They have faith that Jesus is actually a really good leader, a man with a huge potential for power. Even though, like the rest of the disciples, they often don't get what he's saying. They think he's the one to back, he's the candidate who's going to come on top, but they're still not always sure. They think even though some of his teachings are strange and idealistic, they're convinced that Jesus will be glorified, and they want to be there when it happens, on his right and on his left. They're willing to follow Jesus because they want to back a winner. And if Jesus is a winner, then maybe some of his prestige and power will trickle down to them, to us. They're approaching discipleship from the angle, what's in it for me? These sons of Zebedee, James and John, don't seem to realize that Jesus' talk about service as a way of life, of the abundance that comes from being emptied out, of the security that comes from loosening your grip on things and on power, and allowing yourself instead to be grasped by God, is not merely a means to an end. They don't realize the irony that if you give up the question, what's in it for me, you'll get more than you ever dreamed of. Serving others is powerful. Giving up yourself for another, being emptied out of love is abundant life. But to find your way for these rewards, you and I have to stop, and them have to stop asking the question, what's in it for me? What's in it for me is the question that turns friendship sour, when you realize that someone only wants to take and never to give. In our gospel reading, though, these sons of Zebedee are not alone. When the other disciples hear that James and John have gone to put themselves above their peers, they run up to Jesus too, saying, "Excuse me," they're angry, they're mad. And not because James and John have misunderstood. They're mad because they didn't think of it first. That's why they're mad. Gosh, we missed that one. Didn't see that coming. But Jesus doesn't give up the disciples. That's the beauty of this bloke. Jesus sees beyond all of this. Maybe he can see them as they would become, filled with the Holy Spirit after Pentecost, transformed into courageous witnesses, whole dreams of greatness, whose what in it for me has been replaced by the humble goal of serving the Lord they love. Perhaps, maybe just, Jesus could see that someday they would stop asking, "What's in it for me?" and start asking the other question, which is in James's gospel, which is in today's gospel. I don't know if you can remember the other question, which is, what is it you want me to do for you? Which is what Jesus said. At first glance, we may imagine Jesus asking this question in frustration. He asked it, after all, just after the Zebedee boys, I don't know if I keep calling them that, James and John, the Zebedee sons, have come up to him and demanded that he says yes, even before they tell him what they're asking. If you look at the passage carefully, that's what they do. They go for the affirmative before they ask the question. Quite a scary policy. What is it you want me to do for you? But this is the question that Jesus always answers. Whenever he's asked this type of thing, anyone who comes to him, this is Jesus' open, vulnerable mission question. A question that guides his life of service, of his willingness to meet you and I where we are, to allow us the freedom to tell him what we really want. This means that sometimes that Jesus hears requests like James and John, and sometimes Jesus hears the honest response of those who know that Jesus is our only hope, our requests for healing, for forgiveness, a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh chance to try again. A chance to come before Jesus empty-handed and say, "Lord, have mercy. Let me know about your grace and your love." A task for those who would follow Jesus is to allow Jesus to transform our questions so that we are people who ask not what's in it for me, but Jesus, what is it you want me to do for you? What is it you want me to do for you? And be brave enough to listen to Jesus' answer, to be open to receive its rewards. That's scary. That's really scary. Jesus comes to us and says, "What do you want me to do for you?" May Jesus heal and transform us so that we may ask the same question of him and be brave enough to listen to him when he says, "Will you come and follow me?" Which fortunately, John Bell and Graham Moore put to one of my favourite tunes, Kelvin Grove, to the beautiful hymn, "Will you come and follow me?"